Okay, so in class we talked about verbs disguised as adjectives, and so we were looking at participles. So we already talked about how the past participle can also be used as an adjective, and then we also learned how the new present participle can be used as an adjective. So we see these examples here, le prof est exigeant, Suzanne n'était pas souriante, and using them as adjectives. But today we're going to focus on another use of the present participle, and so take good notes, and then we'll be practicing a lot in class on Monday. You can also use the present participle to say that another action was happening while another action happens. And so it can be in the present tense, but you can use really any tense in conjunction with the present participle. So look at how it's being used in these three examples. En parlant, elle est tombée sur la rue. While talking, she fell in the street. So here we know that she fell. And what was she doing when she fell? She was talking. And so we can set it up with a present participle, en parlant. So even though it's called a present participle, that's just its term, but it can be used in conjunction with any other tense. J'ai mal à la tête en étudiant pour l'interro. I have a headache. And when or how do I have a headache? While studying for the quiz. So the idea is that these actions are happening at the same time. Nous avons pris la parapluie en quittant la maison. So we grabbed the umbrella while leaving the house. Okay. Two things that I want you to note is that notice that the present participle, oh, I just realized that my color was wrong here. So this one should be yellow. Okay, notice that the present participle is used instead of pendant que when the subjects of both actions are the same. We took the umbrella when we were leaving. So that's kind of redundant, so we can just say while leaving. And that's what the present participle does. You would not really ever see nous avons pris la parapluie pendant que nous quittions la maison. You're just not going to hear that because it's redundant. So instead we can just take all that out. We know we were the ones leaving en quittant. Whereas we would use pendant que if someone else took the umbrella while we were leaving. Okay. The other thing I want you to take note of is what comes in front of the present participle. We use the preposition en. And in this particular case, the preposition en translates roughly to while. While talking, she fell in the street. Or I have a headache while studying for the quiz. We took the umbrella while leaving the house or when leaving. Notice in this particular case as well, you don't use a subject pronoun in front of the present participle. So in this particular case, it's not technically a verb. It's still a participle, but it's a different structure. It's not being used as an adjective. The present participle works the same way by saying it can also be used to say how we do an action. So for example, on réussit à un examen en étudiant. And in this particular case, the en doesn't actually translate to while. See if you can figure out how it translates. We would say we pass or we succeed at a test by studying, en étudiant. On maigrit en faisant de l'exercice. One loses weight by doing exercise. So the idea is not that these actions are happening at the same time, but rather that one is a result of the other. That's how you do it. Okay, and that's how we can use the present participle. We still use the preposition en in front of the present participle. It just changes its meaning as to how we would look at it in English. This one is a little bit trickier, but I still want us to look at it. We can also replace a relative pronoun with a present participle. So I could say, and both are correct, both are great. J'adore cet acteur qui joue dans ce film. I like the actor that plays or who plays in this movie. But we could equally say, j'adore l'homme jouant dans ce film. In this particular case, it's functioning kind of like an adjective, but not technically. But I love the man playing in this movie. Les étudiants qui veulent partir, the students who want to leave, whatever the rest of the sentence goes on to say. And so we could change it to les étudiants voulant partir, students wanting to leave, blah, blah, blah. So both are correct. Not one is better than the other. It's the same thing as in English. We could say it both ways. Now, one thing that I want us to look at, these are a couple of examples, and these are going to start to be a little bit trickier. So if it seems confusing, just go back to the beginning, kind of make sure you understand that part, and then we can kind of add this on. The preposition en is important when deciding who's leaving, because we can use the present participle to modify more than one thing. Remember, we said that when we are using the present participle to express that an action is happening while another action happens, I said that the subjects are the same. So when I look at the first example on the left, j'ai vu le train en partant de la gare. Notice I'm using the prepositional en in front of that present participle. And that implies that I'm the one leaving the train station. I saw the train when I was leaving the train station. And so that en and then the present participle, we can eliminate that whole pendant que structure. It gets a little bit tricky. And we can just use the present participle. And the implication is that I'm the one leaving. Okay? And that's what that preposition en really plays a role. I saw the train while leaving the train station. However, if we take out that preposition en, then we could have a completely different sentence. And I could say, j'ai vu le train partant de la gare. Now, partant de la gare is almost functioning like an adjective, and it's functioning as if we replace that relative clause. Well, if we had changed it to a relative clause, j'ai vu le train qui part de la gare, the qui part is modifying the train. Okay, and so in this particular case, the partant is describing, modifying le train. So in this particular case, I saw the train, and the train was the one leaving the train station. Okay, so kind of read both examples again and see if those make sense. So the following two are just another example where we see that. Je l'ai rencontré en traversant la rue. Because we're using that preposition en, it has the idea that while crossing the street, and I was the one crossing the street. So I met him, I encountered him while crossing the street. If we take out the en, then the traversant is modifying the object. Je l'ai rencontré traversant la rue. Elle cherche le garçon en me parlant. So in this particular case, she's looking for the boy while talking to me. So who's talking to me? She is. Okay, that en lets me know that the subject is the one doing that. However, we can also get rid of the word en, and then, but when we remove the word en, then the present participle is modifying what it comes after, what it directly comes after. So now, elle cherche Pierre parlant au prof. She's looking for Pierre talking to the teacher. And the idea here is that Pierre is the one talking to the teacher. He's the one doing the talking. So I know that those examples can look a little bit tricky, but hopefully you can see the difference. And kind of when you write these examples down, draw the arrows. See if you can draw the arrows for the third example on your own. Okay. Now, what we just want to make sure that we review is what the present participle is not. The present participle does not work in conjunction with être. In English, we use the verb to be as a helping verb, and we use the present participle to help make verb constructions. If you notice, we never use the present participle in conjunction with another verb in French, and we don't even use it with a subject pronoun. It kind of hangs out on its own. So we would never say I am eating and use the present tense and use the present participle. That's the present tense, and so je suis mangeant, that does not exist. So we don't want to start using it that way just because we see ing, you're like, ooh, present participle. No. All right, so je mange would be correct. Same thing, don't let that mess you up with the imperfect. How do we say I was eating? You just take manger and put that into the imperfect. You don't need to put être into the imperfect and use a present participle. And another thing is we can translate j'aime manger as I like to eat, but we can also translate it as I like eating. So we want to be careful that we don't accidentally start using the present participle here as well when we would really ideally need an infinitive. So this is one of those concepts that you might need to watch this video a time or two and just kind of let it sink in. And we're going to be doing a lot of practice in class. Yep. All right. Au revoir.